Good morning, President Frank and the Regents of the University of New Mexico. My name is Tom Solomon. I'm at 350.org, New Mexico, and I'm here to talk about climate change and divestment. As New Mexico's premier university, UNM has a moral obligation to protect its students' future from the increasingly real prospects of dangerous climate change. Yet instead, the UNM endowment continues to invest in the fossil fuel companies that are driving global warming and which spend hundreds of millions every year lobbying Washington to oppose the very actions that will avert these dangers. Today I'm presenting a petition signed by 127 UNM faculty and staff and by another 2,200 students, alumni, and taxpayers and calling for UNM to divest its endowment from fossil fuel company stocks. And I also have a letter signed by 8 state legislators who have joined us in making this call. We ask the UNM Endowment's Consolidated Investment Fund to 1. Immediately freeze any new investment in fossil fuel companies, and 2. To fully divest from these stocks within 5 years. In recent months, warnings about the dangerous effects of climate change have become increasingly urgent from the World Bank, the IPCC, by NASA, and ominously even by the Pentagon. And on March 10th, 29 U.S. senators held the Senate floor for 24 hours around the clock, making an urgent call for climate action. Both Senator Udall and Senator Heinrich spoke at length, each pointing to our now 6-year-long severe drought as a sign that dangerous warming has already begun. The urgency is this: CO2 in our atmosphere is now higher at 400 parts per million than at any time in human history, and it is rising 2 parts every year and accelerating. Scientists say that our atmosphere can withstand only another 500 gigatons of this greenhouse gas and still remain under 2 degrees C of total warming. That's the limit that all developed nations agreed we must stay under to avoid dangerous climate change. And yet, global CO2 pollution continues at over 30 gigatons per year, a rate that will exceed that limit in only 14 years. When that happens in 2028, today's UNM freshmen will be just 32 years old, and we will be locked into at least 2 degrees C of dangerous warming, and there is no sign that it will stop there. This is why divestment matters. Despite the fact that we know our CO2 danger limit is another 500 gigatons, the shocking fact is that the combined fossil fuel reserves declared by energy and mining companies themselves is worth 5 times that amount. 5 times. Credible organizations like the International Energy Agency and the World Bank tell us that burning even most of these excess reserves would drive warming not only past 2 degrees C, but to 4 to 6 degrees C in our children's lifetime, and that this will lead to heat waves so extreme, sea levels so high, and drought so severe as to threaten human civilization with famine, massive climate refugee problems, and armed conflict. These excess coal, oil, and gas reserves, these supposed assets, are more toxic than the subprime mortgages that drove the housing bubble to burst in 2008. This carbon simply must not be burned if we want to leave our grandchildren a livable planet. And yet, these toxic assets are the basis of energy companies' current stock prices. When the markets fully realize that these must become stranded assets, these energy companies' stock prices must and will collapse. Think back to 2008. If you knew then that the toxic assets of Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers would drive them under, would you not have divested? That's what serious advisors are telling us now. It's also a fact that even now these energy stocks lag the rest of the market because despite their huge profits, these companies' growth has stagnated. As natural gas prices have peaked, coal prices have collapsed, and domestic gasoline demand has dropped. In fact, as a sector, energy stocks have seriously underperformed the S&P 500 stock index for the past 5 years by 50%. The endowment would be getting better returns by avoiding these stocks. Divestment is not only the right moral choice, it is the right fiduciary choice. UNM has a proud set of accomplishments in sustainability, including the 2008 Climate Action Plan, the adoption of sustainability as a core value, greatly reducing carbon emissions, and establishing the Office of Sustainability. But by continuing to invest in risky energy stocks, the university's endowment mocks these great sustainability efforts. The endowment is profiting from companies whose business plan, fully executed, will destroy the climate that our own students must live in. If it's wrong to wreck the climate, it is wrong to profit from that wreckage. Perhaps energy stocks will once again be a good investment, but not until these companies stop lobbying to prevent renewable solutions, not until they stop exploring for even more carbon reserves that must not be burned, and not until they cease their climate disinformation campaign and start planning to keep their excess carbon assets buried. The UNM Regents and the UNM Foundation Board are the two bodies that approve the endowment's investment policies. 2,200 students and local citizens, over 127 faculty and staff, and 8 state legislators join me in calling on UNM to revise these policies so that they commit to divestment and are aligned better to the other sustainable practices of this great university. This is not only smart investing, it is also vitally important for the future of human civilization. UNM can be a leader in this. We call on you to think of your students' future and the future of all of us and join this movement to divest. Thank you.